Welcome back, fight fans. We are here for yet another week of Shoot the Shit podcast here live on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network, also simulcasting on Combat Press, MMA Intel, among other places. I am your host, Riley Kontek. This week, we jump from UFC to Bellator. Our guest is a Bellator fighter. Of course, before we introduce him, I would like to thank our sponsor. So this is more localized. Most of our listeners are from the Illinois area. So if you have any home improvement projects that need to be done, head to Facebook.com and check out Cornelius and Sons. It's starting to get colder out in Illinois, so maybe not as much as getting your decks done and your front porches done. But he does good work. He does flooring. He does bathrooms. He does kitchens. Basement. He'll do the whole thing for you. So again, head to Facebook.com. Check out Cornelius and Sons. He's booked pretty solid right now, but if you can get a jump on the new year, he will be more than happy to work with you. Now that that's out of the way, I would like to introduce our guest for the day. He is a Bellator heavyweight. He is one of the few guests on this show that is actually bigger than I am, if you can believe that. He is Steve Mowry. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Riley. How you doing?
No complaints, other than, as my fans know, I had surgery 2 weeks ago, so I haven't moved from this couch very much. So, like I said, it's good to have these shows still going on because it gives me something to do. So first and foremost, congratulations. You won the other weekend at Bellator. You defeated Dana White's Contender Series veteran and East Coast top prospect, Shawn Teed, and you did so by knockout. So first off, congratulations there. So kind of brings into our first question, Steve, taking a look at the performance, I'm assuming you watched the fight afterwards, as most fighters do. How would you grade your performance? What do you think you did well? And was there anything in the fight that you need to touch up, do you think?
I give myself like a C plus, B minus kind of deal. No, I mean, I was really happy that I was able to land that knee. That's something we've been drilling for a really long time. I'm really happy that it worked out in the fight. But, there's compared to, I think, how I normally am in sparring, there's some little things that I think I could have done better that, didn't shake out my way. But, what are you going to do, right? And as always, whether it was an A plus performance or whether it was the worst performance of my life, I feel like, there's always something you can be gleaned from any fight that you can take away and get better with.
Do you think you surprised a lot of fans? Because I think people who followed you, probably mostly from Bellator, know you as a submission guy, especially the arm locks. You've won by key lock, you've won by Kimura. Do you think you surprised fans with a knockout there?
People that don't know me, yes. I really do like the striking. I love kickboxing. I love boxing. I love all that stuff. And it's something that I think the people closest to me that train with me day in, day out know that that's something I'm very passionate about. It's something I take very seriously. It's something I work very hard on. It's just that, the path to victory for, I would say whatever, 6 or so of my last fights just so happen to be through, grappling. It was good to be able to put my full skill set on display there, to not only use my grappling to negate his grappling, but also to implement my kickboxing, which, like I said, I was really happy to be able to display.
For sure. Now, you train at Hard Knocks 365, which is really
No, sir.
cool.
Sanford MMA.
Sanford MMA, my fault. I'm sorry about that. I'll have to yell at Tapology for not having that updated. So now that you're at Sanford MMA, so just kind of discuss with us the move to that gym, how that's gone, and what's the culture like in that gym, and how does it differ from other gyms that you used to train at?
Right. So I'm really glad you asked. So nothing. It's not even really that anything bad happened with Hard Knocks 365. It's just that that was Henry's solo venture project, Henry's solo venture kind of deal. But Henry, with the help of his partners and the other coaches, were able to put together a partnership with Sanford Health, one of the biggest health companies in the United States. They're based out of the Midwest, and, they were able to, join forces and put together something really, really special, and I can't tell you how grateful I am to be at the ground level of it. Well, as you know, like, if you followed the gym's progression, we started as the Black Zillions, and then what happened was, there was kind of like a schism there, for whatever reason, and a lot of drama. And it was a good thing, but as, the years went on, we had been to a couple different spots, and then before we knew it, we were at Sanford MMA. So just every iteration of our team and our group of guys and our coaches has been better and better and better. And I'm really blessed to say that I'm with Sanford now, and the culture is good. I got to say, it's like I said, every iteration of our team has been better and better and better than before. We keep picking up better and better guys. We keep adding, more and more skilled fighters to the team. Our coaching staff, headed by Henry, and joined by, we have Greg Jones and the wrestling. We have Kami Barzini, an experienced wrestling and MMA coach. We have Corey Peacock at the strength, and we just added Wagner Rocha as our jiu-jitsu coach. So, man, it's been good. The culture is great. It's a lot of guys who are competitive, always trying to make each other better, always trying to push each other to the next level. And, I'm glad to say that I think that culture, along with, the push that we get from our day in, day out from our teammates, and, obviously the very strong backing that we get from Sanford was instrumental to my success, and it's going to be instrumental to success we see in the future.
For sure. Now, before we go on to what's in the future for you, I had a question, especially because, like I said, you are a taller fighter now. You're 6'8". If Tapology is correct at that time. So, as a 6'8" fighter, I mean, there's probably not too many guys that are going to be bigger than you. So, in terms of being a tall fighter, what do you think the advantage of being a guy your size at 6'8", is? And then what do you think a disadvantage is of having that height as well?
More leg to kick would be a disadvantage.
That's true.
But no, I guess I enjoy a size advantage on most opponents. I don't have like the reach of a John Jones, but I'm typically longer than most of the guys I fight, and my frame's a little bit different. More, if I were 6'2" and 250 pounds, the dynamic would be different as opposed to being 6'8" and 250 pounds. So. It's a frame that probably most people aren't equipped to deal with, or, they don't know how to prepare for. So, I've enjoyed that thus far in my career.
For sure. Now, with the win over Shawn Teed, like I said, it's a pretty big win to have, just based on his resume as well. So what's the future hold for you in Bellator? What's next? And is there a fight that you are basically campaigning for right now? Is there a specific individual you want to fight?
No, I'm not a big call-out guy. I don't like to do the showboating or the grandstanding. I just whenever I get asked, I tell people I keep beating people up for money. So that's what I'm gonna keep doing. Just focus on the task at hand, get better. Hopefully it won't be too long before I'm back in there. Like I said, I did have some minor things come up before I end in the fight. So, I'd like to take a little bit of time to catch up and heal up from that. But, that said, I'd like to fight again. Maybe, dare I say, even before the end of the year. We'll see.
I think that's definitely possible. They have multiple cards before year's end, so that's definitely a possibility. Now, obviously you don't have an exact name. Would you prefer to take another fight to build yourself up, maybe against another fellow prospect, or do you think it's time to get off and get into the top end of the division?
I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what opportunity presents itself. And I don't know. At the end of the day, for me, it's all about getting a name, preparing, focusing, and then just letting the work showcase itself whenever the fight happens.
For sure. So definitely, hopefully by the end of the year, like we said, we know there's cards coming up, and one of those cards we'll be talking about that's going to be coming up this week. Now, just another random question. This is going to be the week of Halloween. Big Halloween question. Are you going dressed up as anything?
I mean, I'm juggling with a couple ideas, but I don't have anything nailed down just yet. We'll see. We'll see what happens here.
Are you, you're in Florida, correct?
Yes, sir.
So everything's pretty much opened up 100%, correct?
100% in the sense that we don't have to wear masks or anything anymore.
I mean, there's no capacity limits.
Well, restaurants are still doing the distance thing. They're still doing like staggered tables and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, all that stuff's relaxed. Everything's kind of scaled itself back a little bit. And everything's been chill since. It's only been a few weeks now. I haven't really got to enjoy the full scope of it, but
right.
No, it's been good.
Is Steve Mowry going to be checking out a Halloween party then?
My girlfriend has a 9-year-old, so I'll probably be handing out candy.
Okay. Hey, we're having a party here, and I'm handing out candy too.
That's That's the best kind of party, I think.
Yeah, it is. Well, we'll see how many kids are going to go out for Halloween. Unfortunately, I think it's not going to be as crowded.
We'll see how everyone's parents are. What's the culture like there with
Well, in Illinois, we're pretty much still 100%, not 100% lockdown, but, if you watch a Bears game, there's 0 people in the stands, whereas if you watch like a Chiefs game or a Panthers game, there's probably like 30, 40%. Some regions are still on kind of a lockdown type or more restrictions than others. It just kind of depends what part of the state you're in. I think Chicago actually just opened up indoor dining this week finally. So, yeah, Chicago has been hit pretty hard in terms of the lockdowns and all that. So, luckily, I don't live in the city of Chicago because I don't think I would have lasted.
Yeah, for real. I mean, we had indoor dining really since March and April were really tough here, and then May, I want to say around May is when you could go to restaurants again, but it was the capacity was, about half and all that other stuff. So, I don't know. I guess it would be different. Like I'm probably going to go, I'm from Pennsylvania. I'll probably go home at some point in the near future. And I'm kind of curious to see what it's like there.
Yeah, definitely, especially because Florida is definitely one of the looser restricted states. And I don't know what Pennsylvania looks like, but obviously it's probably more restricted than Florida is. So, but the funny thing is that even though they have restrictions on bars and restaurants, a lot of the owners just stopped listening to it. They're like, if people want to come here, that's on them. We're not gonna turn anybody away. Especially because we lost 3 months of business. So
right, and people need to make money too.
100%. And then
you have to think South Florida. I mean, all of Florida, but South Florida especially is built on tourist culture. That's a huge part of the economy. So I don't blame them.
Yeah, I don't either. People got to make a living. Just the same way fighters have to make a living, and that's why I definitely was given a lot of these promotions props for getting back as soon as they could. So, which will transition nicely. We'll give our predictions for the weekend. First on tap is your company, Bellator 250. It has a super fight of sorts. You got the welterweight champion taking on the middleweight champion in the main event. It doesn't really look at this point like any other main card fights have been announced. There's some undercard bouts, as we discussed before the taping started. But we got Gegard Mousasi, who will be defending his middleweight championship against Douglas Lima, who is the welterweight champion. Steve, take a look at this fight. Break down what you think happens, and if you have a prediction for fight night, you can throw that our way as well.
Yeah, Douglas Lima's definitely the more furious, walk forward, chop you in half type, and Gegard Mousasi is definitely more relaxed and cerebral, but he's definitely got some crack, and his ground and his kickboxing both are really stellar. So I don't know, that's a hard pick to make. I think I tend to lean a little bit more towards Gegard just because he got it done the first time. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. This Douglas Lima, especially in his last few fights, has been a different animal. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, I was front row for when Lima knocked out Michael Page, and I can tell you that the sound that punch made was I could hear that from where I was sitting.
It was sickening.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. But I think I like Mousasi here as well, just based on he's fought at light heavyweight before too. So at some point you do have to factor size in the fight. I think Lima's definitely going to give him a run for his money just because he is so well-rounded. But, Gegard is one of the most well-rounded guys in his division as well. So I think it's a close fight. I think it's an exciting fight, and I think Bellator is going to get their money worth here. I'm going to take Mousasi in a close decision.
I like it.
All right, so now moving forward, we also have a UFC card this weekend as well. We have a UFC Fight Night on ESPN+. We have a main event with 2 outstanding strikers. But before we go to that, we'll talk about the co-main event first for 2 reasons. One, it has probably the most famous fighter to the fan who doesn't watch MMA. Other than maybe Anderson Silva. But he's also in your weight class. We have Greg Hardy taking on Maurice Green. So again, Steve, why don't you take a look at this matchup between Hardy and Green? Tell us what you think, and if you have a prediction, go ahead.
Yeah, Hardy's a beast, dude. He's really outperformed his expectations, not just in the sense that he didn't have a very strong fighting background, and also the really good guys that he's fought, he steamrolled. So that said, Maurice Green, man, he's a freak. He goes in there and he pulls out these weird stoppages, doing weird stuff, almost out of nowhere. From like whenever you're watching it, it's strange. It's really strange to see how he's able to pull these submissions and knockout strikes out of nowhere. But I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It'll really be interesting to see what happens in terms of the wily veteran versus the up and coming athlete, which is strange to talk about because Greg Hardy is not like an up and coming in terms of like his age and his. Right. In terms of his like overall visibility, he's not a spring chicken. He's been in the spotlight for a long time before fighting, ever called his name. But it'll be interesting to see, Maurice Green goes in there and makes things happen against tough dudes.
Yeah, absolutely. And Maurice Green's an outstanding kickboxer. And the one thing we have seen is that Hardy's biggest strength is in his boxing. So, you might have a dogfight here, or you might have a guy in green who has fought professionally as a kickboxer. He was also a guy that we saw in Glory. Outclass a guy who has not been doing this as much. Now, if you take a look at Greg Hardy's record, I pulled it up while you were talking there. His only legitimate loss, in my opinion, was to Alexander Volkov, who was top 10 in the world, right? He has a no contest against Ben Sassoli because he illegally used an inhaler or something like that. I remember that, which was originally a win. And then the loss to Alan Crowder was due to an illegal knee in a fight he was winning. So, technically this guy could be, 8-2 or 8-1 right now. But yeah, I'm going to take Green in this fight. But like I said, Greg Hardy, to a person who doesn't really watch MMA, is probably the most recognizable name on this card, other than the guy in the main event, Anderson Silva, which we'll talk about right now. So the main event, we have two dynamic strikers. We have Uriah Hall, who has possibly probably the best knockout in Ultimate Fighter history, which is really what built his name. You got Anderson Silva, one of the greatest of all time. Steve, break this one down for us, and if you got a prediction, go ahead.
Yeah, so Anderson Silva, the reason why he's still in a main event, if you look at his last string of, however, let's say 10 or so fights, it doesn't really have the makings of somebody who should be the main event on an ESPN card. However, if you could look at a highlight reel of Anderson Silva and, not be impressed at just all the crazy stuff he's done, all the big wins he's had. And I've come full circle on Anderson Silva. Back whenever he fought Chael Sonnen, I was rooting against him. And it's, I don't know, I guess not like a personal thing that he did. It's just, whatever. But I don't know. I guess having fought, I can appreciate like everything that he was able to do given his circumstances, what he was able to perform. And, I don't know, man, he's just a beast. And, now that I practice fighting myself and see just how difficult it is to be able to perform and execute the stuff that he does, I can really say I appreciate Anderson Silva. And, with Uriah Hall, I mean, like, if Uriah Hall could get out of Uriah Hall's own way, it seems like sometimes Uriah Hall would be would be the best fighter ever, would be probably a 2-weight class champion and all that. And I'm not talking shit. I'm just saying, like, he's had a few bad fights here and there. But, he shows glimpses of somebody that has all the makings to be an all-time great.
Yeah.
So, and especially you want to talk about incredible performances. Yeah, he like the spinning knockout he did on
Mousasi.
On Mousasi, yeah. Then Adam Cella. And then performance that I like the most from Uriah Hall was probably people don't even really remember it, was whenever he fought Chris Lieben. He won a 10-8 round on his back foot, and then he so, yeah, man, Uriah Hall's a beast. It'd be interesting to see what happens. Is Anderson Silva going to make some of the old magic happen again, or is Uriah Hall going to put it all together like he sometimes does,
Yeah, and what's crazy is Anderson Silva has won one fight since 2013. He hasn't been as active, et cetera, but that's so crazy.
Who's that, Derek Brunson?
That was the Brunson fight, yep. And
wow.
It's just so crazy to think about because he was just so dominant for so long. But, Silva's 45. I believe this is his last fight on the UFC contract, so Dana says. But Dana definitely sounds serious this time. But you're right. Uriah Hall is a guy that when we saw him we started watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, we're like, this guy is legit, and he is going to be challenging for a title sooner rather than later. And you're right. He just never got over the bump. But, I mean, to his credit, though, he never really has taken an easy fight. He's always fought guys in the top 25 outside of maybe one or two fights in the UFC. So, do you have a prediction for this fight? Is it Silva or is it Hall in your eyes?
I mean, like I said, I really think the statistician in me wants to say okay, well, winning one fight since 2013 against a guy like Uriah Hall is not, statistically does not bode well.
Right.
But that said, man, Anderson Silva is always going to be Anderson Silva. And, so you say, it's interesting that you say, like, okay, he's won one fight since 2013, but, like, I'm thinking of some of the stuff that he's done. I'm like, okay, but then he had Michael Bisping, then he had this, then he had that. And it's like, man, the killer is still in there. It's just, dude, does he have enough magic for one more, or is it going to be Uriah Hall doing some wild, super athletic, awesome, high level skill wise stuff? It'd be crazy to see.
Yeah, and you know what the crazy thing? I just looked this up too. Hall is 36, so he's no spring chicken either. Even though obviously he's still massively explosive and quicker.
I thought he was like 33, dude.
Oh yeah, he's 36 according to Tapology. But then again, they said you're at Hard Knocks 365, so I'm gonna keep being bitter about that. I'm gonna yell at somebody later.
Whenever I was an amateur, Tapology had me rated as number one in like the Northeast and the Midwest. But then like 2 days later, a promoter that I fought for had won like a Facebook rant about how Tapology is inaccurate in their rankings, and I was like, "Hey, fuck you, man."
I mean, I use them. I think they're pretty good. So I mean,
I think they're good. Yeah. I'm with you there. The Hard Knocks thing's a little bit. I mean, whatever. But like,
yeah,
if it would have been a disservice to just how good Sanford is for me to let you say that. So,
yeah, for sure. And no, you absolutely should have corrected me. But yeah, they probably don't update the gyms on this as much as they do other things, so I can understand that as well. So.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get you out of here today, Steve. Before we let you go, I will let you whore yourself out. Who do you want to thank? Where can we find you on social media?
So you can find me on social media at Tall Steve Fights People on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Tall Steve MMA. I'd like to thank my sponsors. They've been a big help these last few months. Things have been hard with COVID. Things have been hard with the pandemic. Things have been hard with the lockdown. But, it's thanks to my teammates, my coaches, and my sponsors especially who were able to help us, get out of the hump here. I'd like to thank Sanford. I'd like to thank Thrasher Hip Shoes. I'd like to thank Sidewalk Chef. I'd like to thank Beers Wisconsin. I'd like to thank everybody else that's helped me along the way. Yeah, man. Super grateful for all those guys. Can't wait to see you back in the cage.
Perfect, and we will await for your next fight announcement, definitely. And hopefully, like we said, it's on one of those Bellators before the end of the year. There should be a handful of cards. I will whore myself out now. Check out this show on the Loudmouth MMA Podcast Network. We have episodes every week. We just posted the last week's episode. Other than that, you can check it out on Combat Press as well. We do the women's rankings there, Contender Series previews, all the good stuff. And then you can check out my site, MMA Intel, where we have prospect pieces, scouting reports every week on different one per fighter. We got rankings. We got matches to make after every UFC and Bellator and Invicta card. So check those out there. So again, Steve, thank you very much for joining the show. We really appreciated having you here today. So for Steve Mowry, I'm Riley Kontek saying continue to watch the fights, continue watching the show. Go fuck yourselves. Good night.